When we put fractions on the number line, we need to remember two very important things. First step is to make sure that everything is in the correct order. The second step is to make sure that everything's approximately in the correct place. So correct order, correct place. So let's see what that means for a couple of fractions. First off, you're going to start with 0 and you're going to start with 1. They'll already be there. I recommend placing 1/2 right in the middle. Get an idea of where that halfway point is. So now when I go to pull, let's say, 87 100 first, I need to decide where that goes. Well, that's clearly more than 100, but it's less than a whole, so it fits somewhere in here. So the question is, about where does it go? Well, I know that halfway between 1/2 and 1 whole is 3/4. So what I might do is I think, okay, that's about halfway across. So now I have to decide, okay, how does this compare to 3/4? Well, I know that if I were to build to higher terms, 3/4 would be the same as 75 hundredths. 87 101st is a bit more than 75 hundredths, obviously. So, boom, I'm going to put it right in here. And I just make my mark showing where 87 hundredths goes. So that's using 3/4 to help me. Let's take a look at another example. So I have the fraction 23/42 and the fraction 6/10. And I want to decide where these go. Well, first thing I need to do is I need to make sure they're in the correct order. So what I might want to do is I'm going to just do a cross product to figure out, okay, well, what is the answer here? Well, I know 10 times 23 is 230. That's pretty quick. 42 times 6, I don't really feel like doing, so I'm going to make that a 40. And if I do 6 times 40, that's 240, which means that 6 times 42 would be a little bit more than that, which means that 6/10 is greater than 23/42. So now I have to decide where these go. Well, 6/10 obviously is bigger than a half, because 5/10 would be a half. So I'm going to go a little bit bigger, and I know that 6/10 is going to go here. So then my next question becomes, well, what about 23/42? Is that less than a half or more than a half? Does it fit in here or does it fit over here? Well, there's two ways I could look at this. I know that 23/46 is a half. Well, since that's a few more pieces and I've cut some of those pieces away, 23/42 is more than a half. Or I could think of it this way. I know that 21/42 is also, that's another way of looking at what 1/2 would be. And if I know that, and I see 23/42, it's more than a half. And since I already compared it to 6/10, I know that 23/42 should slide right into here. Finally, I have the fraction 5/20. This is a fraction that I'm going to reduce, and I reduce it to 1/4. So if I can reduce my fractions, that might help me solve it. So I reduce it. I find 5/20 is equal to 1/4. Well, I know, just like I did, that 3/4 was halfway between 1/2 and 1 whole. I know 1/4 is halfway between 0 and a half, which means that 5/20 would fit right about midway here. So that's what we need to do when we're putting fractions on a number line.